Warning. Haymakers and Hellhounds may contain one or more of the following: strong language, suggestive scenes of graphic violence, and topics of a sensitive nature. The opinions expressed here do not necessarily reflect the network's views. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Haymakers and Hellhounds. I am Thomas Duder, author of The Things. This is Season 0, World Building. We've covered World Building 101 and what you can expect from this particular season in the last episode, but let's do something different now. The setting. Now, what I'm talking about isn't just the setting, but also the genre in and of itself. What do you want to do? Do you want to do science fiction? Do you want to do fantasy? And from do you want to do nonfiction? But from there is when we're going to get a little out there. Do you want to do steampunk, cyberpunk? Do you want to do magic punk? Do you want to do nothing punk? Do you want to do infinitesimal void? Infestestimal. Do you want to write about the void? Do you want to write about suicides? Do you want to write about urban fantasy? Do you want to write about hell? What post-dystopian? There are so many genres out there, and it would do you good to not try and make another one. Now, some people might be saying right now, but I have such a unique idea! Well, good for you, go do that. But at this point in time, I'm not saying that all of the genres have been fucking discovered, but for the love of Christ, we kind of getting out there. It's starting to turn to the music industry where people are just creating like the dumbest fucking subgenres just to make themselves seem unique. You should let your writing, your creation, your music, your whatever you're doing, it should be uniquely you. And that's the thing. That's the most important takeaway from this you should honestly have, is that being yourself, writing like yourself, writing as yourself is the most important thing above all. Maybe you won't be as good as you think. Maybe you'll be better than you think. Those are both acceptable outcomes. Just saying. For this series, let's consider what we're going to do. Why don't we do something? I mean, I like me some fantasy. Lord knows I write urban fantasy like a motherfucker. I've been doing post-apocalyptic with Killer 13. In fact, several of my things are based around urban fantasy. The battle card crushing game, the Killer 13, Killer 13 cookie clicker, that, what was it? Maximum Rampage, that's what we're calling it. That one's going to be, that's post-apocalyptic. But, you know, why don't we do high, dark fantasy? I actually have a very deep love of The Black Company by Glenn Cook. Good shit. Another one from a guest we'll have later on in the series too, Samuel Z. Jones, Accurite Empire. Am I saying that right? Accurite? I think it is. He has a Cockney Welsh accent. He's a British guy, so he's got that British accent. You know, I can't do an accent. I won't do it right now, at least. I hate it when people do that shit where it's like, if you're a singer, well, can you sing something for me right now? Well, if you're a musician, can you just play for something for me right now? You're a writer, can you write me into your next... I have a great idea. Stop. Idea men are the bane of my fucking existence. I swear to fucking Christ, I don't want to hear your ideas. I have plenty of my own. Trust me, I have tons. Oh my God, just suffice it to say, in your case, consider the setting. Now, genre will determine the setting, or maybe even a subversion thereof. There's this anime out there, and multiple animes like it too, called Scrapped Princess, which, spoiler, you'll learn that all this highfalutin magic they're doing is actually science. It's actually a technological thing, and Lord knows there are plenty of titles out there like that. But I want you to consider that unless you're going to subvert it or reinforce it, you're just gonna write this shit. You're just gonna make this shit. So for now, this series is going to focus on high dark fantasy for the world building. Possibly until the end of the series is, 4 or 5, whatever seasons, is done. I don't know. No promises as to how many seasons, no promises as to what we do. Remember, until you publish, it's good. Until you publish, you can do anything you want. Right now, we have a primordial void, a chaotic orb of material waiting to be molded and messed with. And, yeah. I want you to consider very strongly what you're going to do. For now, following along with the series, we're going high dark fantasy. Because of that, we're going to have all sorts of... you're going to need it somewhat apocalyptic. In fact, why don't we set this slightly after the end? In fact, So suffice it to say, I just had a pretty good idea, and I think I'm going to run with this for the series. Yeah. High dark fantasy. Let us have a world where you have the standard tropes of magic and shit, you know what I mean? But magic in and of itself is kind of hard to employ. You need a certain amount of mana, magical energy, and there's not that much on the surface. Because of this, we have rather what's the main focus is just a series of mercenaries and warriors and such. So you're going to have a lot of hand-to-hand fighters, a lot of sword magic, and only certain characters or certain enchantments will actually be able to utilize magic on the surface. To that end, battle mages will be important, but only to negate other battle mages. A mage in and of himself or herself will need a certain amount of, I don't know, focus in order to use it, except for a holy sword, a particular sword that has been worshipped by a cult, a main religion, in fact, for like centuries on end, right there, you know what I mean? We're not going to have a Pangea, but we are going to have a central landmass. In fact, let's have 3 central land masses, and we're going to focus on the biggest one. So now, with a whole shit ton of islands, but there is the southern wastes. The southern wastes will be, oh, I don't know, oceans, just straight up oceans, but with underwater kingdoms that we will go into later on. Naturally, fish people, mer people, yes, mer sex. Well, at least mouth sex. In fact, let's have the mermaids be the kind where it's like they lay eggs, and every time humans find out about it, they don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm just saying, that's funny to me right there. So, so we have 3 main land masses, and let's call this world, I don't know, Planet Tyrone, Planet Lucius, Planet Chad. You never know what you can just throwing it out there. For now, why don't we, Planet Melusine. I think it's pretty. That's nice. That's good. And it kind of juxtaposes itself against the darkness that I'm about to bring to you. Suffice it to say, though, I'm going to throw a little, and you might hate me for this, but it's going to happen when we're creating like this. Throwing a little curveball on a motherfucker. Instead of just being dark high fantasy, what if we had a somewhat light-hearted comedy dark high fantasy? Like literally everything sucks, but hey, at least you know, always look on the bright side of life. Let's bring some Monty Python in a motherfucker. I like this idea. In fact, it goes with what I was thinking about earlier. In this particular world, this planet Melusine, there are these landmasses and such, but each one correlates to a different item, which is protected by a different god or goddess. Now, the main one would be the one that we're following, which is the Holy Sword, once again. Each time it calls out for a hero, it's to defeat a Devil King, and they are locked in an eternal cycle of heroes rising, defeating the Devil King, a new Devil King is born, and then eventually the cycle just perpetuates itself. But this time, things are going to be slightly different. This time, when the hero who isn't very confident of himself, in fact, I like that idea of a hero that has the ability but not the confidence, and in fact his power, the power of the Holy Sword, is based around faith. Not just faith in, well, I mean, the cult would say faith in the sword itself and the god that created it resides within the sword. But, no, I don't want a talking sword. Fuck that idea. No, but what about if it was just faith in himself ultimately? But he didn't know about this until after the fact. Like I said, we're going to start this series en media res. We're going to start this book, this whatever, en media res, so to speak. So we're going to start it dark high fantasy, comedy, action. Because of course it's what I do. I do action. It's all I write. I look at me. Look at these fucking gloves. You can see my boots. You can see it for yourself. Look at the shirt. Look at the boots. Look at the gloves. Nigga, I fight. Not that I fought in like 10 years, but whatever. I used to. Just suffice it to say. So, you have the hero. We have, let's say, his 4 companions. 4 landmasses, 4 gods, 4 elements, 4 companions. Straight up Final Fantasy style, my nigga. That's what's up, dude. Yeah, I'm liking this idea. So, I will have a perverted elf manservant who's not a pervert when he's on the clock, but when he gets off, he's just like, it's time! Let's do a dwarf cleric. Yeah. A sorceress? An oracle. Maybe a human oracle, yeah. And with that stated, as I'm just whipping these characters out, you can already tell right off the bat that not only have I actually changed that world slightly, pray I don't change it any further, but also there's that whole thing where I just created the races, some of the races that go into this motherfucker.